you're watching this, it must mean that the world hasn't ended yet. Nibiru or Planet X did not smash into Earth as predicted by conspiracists. And I have to say, here at Life's Biggest Questions, we aren't particularly surprised. But what of this mystery planet? Is it actually out there? And if so, did we just get lucky? Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm your questioner, Rebecca Felgate, and today we're asking, is Planet X real? So, how did the conversation of Nibiru or Planet X even start? Surely there must be some truth in it if we're talking about it. Although of course many people do talk about the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot, so is it folklore? And if so, where does it stem from? Well, a few places actually. It seems like Nibiru and Planet X have merged to become the same thing, but started out as two different entities. Planet X was said to have been discovered by an ancient Bronze Age race called the Sumerian. The Sumerian lived in the Middle East and were an intelligent race. Their mathematics is still used today. Allegedly, they were keen astronomers and observed a 12th planet in the solar system. So how do we know this? Well, a drawing made by the people back then. Of course, this was at a time millennia before the dawn of the telescope, so unless they had super space vision, it is likely they were just looking at stars, or drawing something fanciful, because we don't all draw things that take place in real life. That would be pretty boring. Nonetheless, it is said that the Sumerian thought a 12th planet orbited the sun every 3,600 years. When I say it is said, I mean that it's one of those phrases internet conspiracists use to make their statements seem like fact without any real citable sources. However, conspiracists put two and two together and got 17 trillion, as they seem to think this meant that the mysterious 12th planet that the ancient race of people had no way of seeing was going to return soon and smash into us. Why? Cause stone carvings, yo. So when was this supposed to happen? According to conspiracy theorists, 2003. So, yeah. We're still here. Meanwhile, chatter of Nibiru began in the 1990s. The year 1995 saw the dawn of the accessible home internet, and it also saw the dawn of the internet troll and the forum warrior. All of a sudden, crack theorists were able to share their thoughts online for all to see. This is exactly what happened when Wisconsin's Nancy Lieder claimed that she was warned by aliens about a planet called Nibiru that would come and destroy Earth. The aliens were said to be from a different planet 39.17 light years from Earth, but of course, so far as we know, there are no habitable planets that close to us. Jumping on the Nibiru bandwagon, along came Christian numerologist David Meade, who tied up the concept of the planet neatly with his predictions for the rapture. Of course, it was he who claimed that the planet was to smash into Earth on September the 23rd, 2017, which of course we now know did not happen. Again. So what do actual cosmological experts have to say about the prospect of Planet X? Well, you may be pleased to know that NASA has a whole page dedicated to Nibiru and Planet X. A whole page debunking them, that is. One of the more decisive statements from their website reads, Nibiru and other stories about wayward planets are an internet hoax. There is no factual basis for these claims. If Nibiru and Planet X were real and headed for an encounter with Earth, astronomers would have been tracking it for at least the past decade, and it would be visible by now to the naked eye. So that's that then. NASA did confirm the existence of a new planet called Iris though. This is an icy, teeny-weeny planet beyond Pluto that is smaller than Earth's moon. For a time, this was referred to as Planet X because it was thought to be the 10th planet in our solar system. However, both it and Pluto were reclassified as dwarf planets, taking the number of official planets in our solar system down to 8. Astronomers are constantly looking to discover planets in our galaxy, and when the time comes, look beyond that into the expanses of the universe. Of course, there will be planets and probably even life out there that we don't know about yet. But if Nibiru and Planet X did exist, we are sophisticated enough to be able to see it. And as we can't see anything like that in our own solar system, we can only assume that they're not there. Could a rogue planet from elsewhere in our galaxy or beyond come and smash into us Nibiru style? Well, that kind of thing is theoretically possible. We're all rocks in space after all. But we will know about any possible collisions many many years before they ever happen. So I hope you guys feel a touch more informed about Planet X, Nibiru, and Iris.
Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm Ron Mackenzie Lafergie. Following the conspiracies regarding the impending disaster at the hands of the all but disproven rogue planet Nibiru, many have turned their thoughts to the idea of large-scale impact events. While humanity has avoided this eventuality thus far, it could be that one of these days a rogue planet will come back and mess things right up. What would happen if we were struck by one of these planets? Let's explore. If you like this video and want to see more like it, check out our biggest what ifs playlist on the channel. Now get ready, it's time to ask the question, what if a rogue planet crashed into Earth? The first question we should ask is, what is a rogue planet? A rogue planet is a planet that drifts alone, often orbiting around a galaxy rather than orbiting around a star like we're used to seeing. This means that the trajectory of one of these rogue planets could intersect with Earth, which would lead to disastrous consequences. It's believed that the Milky Way galaxy could have billions of these drifting about, just waiting to crash into an unsuspecting planet. As previously alluded to, a group of conspiracy theorists were claiming that Nibiru, the mysterious Planet X, was one such planet, and was coming to destroy the Earth. First, it was going to come on September 23rd, and it didn't. Then, it was supposed to come on November 19th, and it didn't. Despite all evidence pointing to its non-existence, these people continue to cling to their theories, moving on to claims that Nibiru does exist, but the government is hiding it from us using chemicals. Sure, it sounds like a fourth grader's science fiction book, but it does bring up an interesting question. What if a rogue planet actually did crash into us? Well, this may have already happened. While there is some disagreement, the prevailing scientific idea is that the moon was created thanks to the rogue planet Theia. Theia was roughly the size of Mars, which is about half the size of Earth, and it's believed to have crashed into the Earth. This launched chunks off of the Earth into space, which eventually gathered together due to gravity to create the moon. So if a rogue planet were to crash into Earth, we could end up with a second moon. But what would this mean for the inhabitants of Earth? As you likely expect, this kind of impact event would be absolutely disastrous to life on Earth. Considering the object that killed the dinosaurs was roughly 7 or 8 miles wide, while most planets are over 1,000 times that size, it's clear that we wouldn't have much of a chance of survival. Scientists have determined that an object need only be roughly 100 kilometers in diameter to wipe out all of humanity, and 100 kilometers is minuscule compared to the size of most planets. If we were struck with another Mars-sized planet, like may have happened 4.5 billion years ago, the energy created would heat the Earth to incredible levels, turning the surface of the Earth into an ocean of magma. Sounds pretty terrible, but at least all my years of playing The Floor is Lava would finally pay off. All jokes aside, this means that the vast majority of life on Earth would die, leaving only certain species of extremophiles that can survive in incredibly hot environments. Even those extremophiles might have trouble in the intense heat created by the collision. A good chunk of the Earth would be destroyed, and with a large enough impact, it could even be knocked out of its current orbit. However, we can take solace in the fact that most scientists believe this to be a highly unlikely occurrence. While these rogue planets are somewhat difficult to detect due to their darkness, one fact can put our minds at ease. Space is really big. While it may be that there are billions of these planets in our galaxy, if they are divided across the galaxy, they would appear highly infrequently. Odds are that there isn't more than one within 100 cubic light years of our planet. For reference, 1 light year is 10 trillion kilometers. That's an awful lot of room to miss, even taking into account higher numbers in planet-dense areas, making it incredibly improbable that it would happen. That said, if it's happened before, it could happen again. And now we return to our question, what if a rogue planet crashed into Earth? Well, the short answer is, the Earth would get messed up and all life would die. An impact event of that size would release so much energy that pretty much everything would be obliterated. Thankfully, this seems to be highly unlikely, since the Earth is fairly small relative to the enormity of the galaxy. But hey, if it does happen, the Earth might eventually have a new moon, so it's got that going for it, which is nice. Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm Ron Mackenzie Lafergie. There's been a lot of talk recently about Planet X, with some using it to predict the end of the world. While these doomsday claims seem to be unwarranted, the idea of a 9th planet continues to be studied by astronomers around the world. What if this planet was found? Let's explore. Now get ready, it's time to ask the question, what if Planet X was real? There's been speculation for decades about the possibility of a mysterious Planet X, an unknown planet that's part of our solar system with a highly elongated orbit. More recently, certain conspiracy theorists have been claiming it to be found, calling it Nibiru, and claiming that it would crash into the Earth. After several failed doomsday predictions, it seems this crash is not happening. But that doesn't mean no such planet exists. Since the discovery of Neptune in 1846, scientists have been on the lookout for other possible planets in the far reaches of our solar system. Strange variations in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune cause them to believe that there could be another planet whose gravity could affect the orbit of these planets. After the discovery of Pluto, it determined that its gravity could not affect the other planets. However, the Voyager 2 spacecraft later learned that the supposed discrepancies in the orbit of Uranus were due to an overestimation of Neptune's mass. More recently, however, certain anomalies in the outer solar system involving Kuiper Belt objects have led scientists to believe there might be a Neptune-sized planet in a huge orbit roughly 20 times farther from the Sun than Neptune. This ninth planet is currently just theoretical. We have no clear evidence pointing to its existence, but what if we found out that it does in fact exist? First of all, what would this planet likely look like? Well, nothing's certain, but there are educated guesses we can make. Based on the apparent effects of its gravity on the Kuiper Belt objects, it's estimated that this planet would be roughly the same size as Neptune, with a radius of 13 to 26,000 kilometers and a mass equivalent to roughly 10 Earths. It would also take 10 to 20,000 years to make a full orbit, so if you like birthdays, you probably shouldn't live on planet X. The gravity on the surface is difficult to predict. It could be very similar to that of Earth, or it could be much stronger, making it very difficult to move. Estimates range from 5.9 to 23.7 newtons per kilogram. However, this would be a rather moot point because you'd likely freeze long before you took your first step. With an orbit 700 times further from the Sun than Earth's orbit, temperatures would be far too low for us to survive. Estimates vary somewhat as to the exact temperature, but some claim that it could drop as low as negative 252 degrees Celsius, or 20.5 Kelvin. This value would vary slightly depending on the atmosphere of the planet, but it would certainly be extremely cold. But if this planet existed, what would it mean to us? Would we need to brace ourselves for doomsday? Probably not. This planet is on an enormous orbit around the Sun. The odds of it colliding with ours, which is relatively close to the Sun, are fairly slim. On top of that, both planets have completed countless orbits in the last several billion years without incident, so we can rest fairly easily for now. Finally, when discussing new planets, one thought tends to jump to mind. Could there be aliens? Well, while it's true that there may be other intelligent life out there, it's unlikely that there's intelligent life, or life of any kind, on planet X. Scientists have determined the coldest temperature at which organisms could reproduce on Earth is minus 20 degrees Celsius, a far cry from the sub-minus 200 degrees expected on planet X. It's certainly possible that there would be forms of extraterrestrial life that can thrive in such low temperatures, but the evidence available makes it seem unlikely. If you want to see more about intelligent alien life, check out our video, What If Another Advanced Species Existed? And now we return to our question, what if planet X was real? Well, you definitely wouldn't want to live there. It may have much more gravity than Earth and would be extraordinarily cold. On the bright side, it probably wouldn't crash into us, so that should put some conspiracy theorists at ease. It's unlikely that there would be life of any kind on this planet, but who knows? Maybe they just have really thick snow pants.
Hey guys, Jared Bronstein here and welcome to another video here on Life's Biggest Questions. Today we'll be looking into the whereabouts of the hypothetical Planet 9. Where is it? What do we know about it? And is it even real? Well, these are all questions that we will in fact get to later on. But for now, just a friendly reminder to subscribe and click the bell icon. So what exactly is Planet 9? Well, it seems no one really knows for sure. Now, it may seem silly talking about something called Planet 9 and then saying no one really knows what it is or where it is. I mean, it's obviously a planet, right? Yes, it seems that's exactly what it is. But unfortunately, we can't say for sure. Let's go back to the beginning to make sense of this mess of a situation. Back in 1846, after Neptune was discovered, there was speculation of another planet possibly existing beyond its orbit. Following decades of research, Clyde Tombaugh continued the research of Percival Lowell and would eventually end up discovering Pluto. However, it wouldn't be before long that astronomers would conclude Pluto wasn't the planet Lowell believed existed beyond Neptune because it was too small. However, there were other theories which date back to before Pluto's discovery that may be evidence of Planet 9. George Forbes suggested there were two trans-Neptunian planets back in 1880. That means planets beyond Neptune's orbit. One of the planets had an average distance from the Sun of 100 astronomical units, which is 100 times that of Earth, while the other had a 300 AU distance from the Sun. Forbes' theory is very similar to that of more recent theories which believe the planets would be responsible for a clustering of the orbits of several objects. The discovery of Sedna's orbit, which was discovered back in 2004, led many to believe the planetoid in our outer solar system had encountered an unknown planet in a distant orbit, which could have possibly been Planet 9. Then in March of 2014, another Senoid was discovered, which had a similar orbit to the 2004 discovery. This fueled speculation that there was an unknown super-Earth far out in our solar system. That same year, astronomers Chad Trujillo and Scott Shepard discovered a dwarf planet at the edge of our solar system, which led them to believe there is in fact a Planet 9, or another unknown planet which is larger than Earth. Then, in 2016, Konstantin Batygin, a theoretical astrophysicist at the California Institute of Technology, Caltech, in Pasadena, and Mike Brown, Battigan's colleague, did more research on the unknown planet which they called Planet 9. Although not everyone is convinced this planet does even exist in the first place, it seems a handful of astronomers and researchers have their sights set on proving it does. So where exactly is Planet 9? Well, it seems no one does know for sure, but there is a ton of evidence and research giving us a good indication of where it most likely is. The belief is that this planet could be up to 1,000 AU away, which means there's tons of undiscovered space, no pun intended, that needs to be searched high and low. As of now, the search has covered just 20 to 25% of premium sky, where it's believed Planet 9 may be hiding. Currently using Japan's 26-foot Subaru telescope, both pairs of researchers have also questioned if the telescope is able to capture such a small object. Now you may think if the planet is 5 to 10 times the size of Earth, how can it be so hard to see? Well, 1 AU is approximately 93 million miles. As previously mentioned, Planet 9 could be up to 1,000 AU away, but the most recent research has led astronomers to believe it may have an orbital distance of 400 to 500 AU. This means the planet could be easier to spot than originally thought, yet the scope they're currently using may not be well equipped enough to get the job done. But just because the planet hasn't officially been discovered, doesn't mean it's non-existent. Oh no. In fact, they're saying this planet may be discovered within the next 10 years if all goes as planned. The Large Synoptic Survey Telescope is expected to go online in Chile sometime in the decade of 2020, maybe 2021, 2022, and it's believed that will be the tool that will be able to capture this Planet 9 that has eluded our sights for centuries. Of course, there is the very slight possibility that the planet itself doesn't exist, but the odds are quite literally 0.1% based on science. Personally, I do believe it's out there, and it's just a matter of time before it's discovered in its entirety. So then where exactly is this planet? Well, as I previously mentioned, and if you couldn't tell by now, no one knows for sure. It's somewhere out in space, but that's also quite a vague answer. Some believe that NASA has actually captured photos of the planet without them even realizing it. In April of 2018, NASA launched its Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, TESS. There's a widespread belief the satellite has snapped a pic of Planet 9, considering how it's believed to have snapped pictures of the entire southern hemisphere of space. However, if it's in the northern hemisphere, well, it's just a matter of time until it's discovered. Some believe the planet could possibly be hiding behind Neptune and may not be discovered for another 1,000 years. I don't think that is the case, as it seems most likely that, especially given how quickly we advance technology, it won't be long before we officially find Planet 9. With that being said, my best educated guess, based on scientific evidence, is that the planet is most certainly beyond Neptune. Although some even went as far as claiming that Planet 9 could possibly be a black hole, others are set in their belief it's a planet, which would explain a lot of unanswered questions regarding space. So to wrap this one up, truthfully, no one knows for sure where Planet 9 is. However, there is a very widespread belief it is hundreds of millions of miles from Neptune, and it will be discovered in the next 10, possibly even 5 years. So let me know in the comments below if you think Planet 9 even does exist and when you think it'll be discovered.
Pluto. What are you? If you were in school prior to 2006, you grew up knowing that Pluto was the 9th planet in our solar system. But in 2006, it was somewhat demoted to the status of a dwarf planet. Then in 2017, scientists decided, okay, maybe Pluto is a planet after all, and it's our definition of a planet that needs to be changed. So which is it? Today, Life's Biggest Questions asks, is Pluto a planet? Hello and welcome back to LBQ. I'm Charlotte Dobre. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let us know in those comments below what topics you would love to see on this channel. Pluto was discovered in 1930 by Clyde Tombaugh. It's teeny tiny, only about half as wide as the United States. It takes 248 Earth years to make a full trip around the sun. But as time went on and technology improved, astronomers began to wonder if Pluto was just one of many tiny icy objects beyond Neptune in the Kuiper Belt. Another object was found in the Kuiper Belt in 1992 that was comparable to the size of Pluto. Then another, and another, and another. Eris was actually larger than Pluto. Did that make Eris our solar system's 10th planet? The solution to this was astronomers and scientists that were part of the International Astronomical Union met in August of 2006 to discuss a new planetary definition. They came to the conclusion that in order for a celestial body to be considered a planet, it had to have the following criteria. A planet is a celestial body that is A, in orbit around the sun, B, has sufficient mass for its self-gravity to overcome rigid body forces so that it assumes a hydrostatic equilibrium, which is fancy science talk for a nearly round shape, and C, has cleared the neighborhood around its orbit. Pluto only met the first two requirements. The last it did not. When a planet clears its neighborhood, it's achieved gravitational dominance by either vacuuming up or ejecting other large objects from its orbit. Pluto is surrounded by lots of icy objects because it's part of the Kuiper Belt. So sadly, Pluto was stripped of its title, one that it had for 76 years prior, and it became a dwarf planet, along with several other bodies in the Kuiper Belt. This made a lot of people very angry. How could this be happening? Not our beloved Pluto. In addition to the public outrage, there was one really big problem with this new definition of a planet. Planets don't necessarily clear the neighborhood around its orbit. Earth shares its space with almost 12,000 near-Earth asteroids. Jupiter also shares cosmic space with many objects. So under the new rules, Earth, Jupiter, and other planets would no longer be classified as planets either. Well, hey, that doesn't exactly make sense now, does it? In July of 2015, NASA's New Horizons mission performed the first ever flyby of Pluto. A group of planetary scientists that are members of the New Horizons mission proposed a new definition that would replace the one that was made by the IAU in 2006. The new definition of a planet will primarily have to do with an object's geophysical definition, as in its characteristics, not necessarily how it interacts with its environment. Scientists that study planets study their composition and features, but under that definition, many celestial bodies like Europa and Titan could also be considered planets. That's a huge change. That means that there's close to 110 planets, including Earth's moon, that could change classification. That doesn't exactly sit right with many astronomers, and the proposal is not yet supported by NASA. So in short, the matter is still highly debated in the scientific community, and many of them disagree on how to classify Pluto. Is Pluto a planet? Well, for now, according to NASA's website, Pluto is a dwarf planet. A dwarf planet travels around or orbits the sun, but it's very small. A dwarf planet is not a planet nor a natural satellite. It directly orbits a star, and it's large enough so that its gravity crushes it into a spheroid. Just because Pluto is a dwarf planet for now, that doesn't mean Pluto is any less important or any less awesome. What do you think? Is Pluto a planet? Let us know in the comments below.
Hey, what's that out in the distance? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Oh no, it's an alien planet on a crash collision course with Earth. And that spells only one thing: life on Earth is about to get really, really bad, and also really, really hot. Well, that goes without saying really, doesn't it? But if two great celestial bodies collided anywhere in the universe, the impact alone would be cataclysmic on a cosmic scale and devastating to the solar system for eons to come. But what if it was our cute little pale blue dot? What if I was to tell you it may have already happened before? Well, hold on to your crash helmets because this ride's about to get a little bit bumpy. Hello internet, what's going on? And once again, welcome back to the most inquisitive channel on YouTube, Life's Biggest Questions. As per usual, I'll be your disembodied floating voice Jack Finch, as today we curiously ask the question, what if Earth smashed into another planet? For the curious amongst you, that clip was from the wholly depressing 2011 film Melancholia by Lars von Trier because, well, yeah, if Earth smashed into another planet, it would be pretty damn depressing for everyone and everything involved, right? Yeah. Exactly. It illustrates a pretty telling physical response though, because cinema has done a relatively stand-up job of depicting what our sky would look like with another planet looming above us, and if it indeed was on a collision course primed to smash straight into us, all we could really do is grab our loved ones, hold them closely, and hope that we get swallowed by some kind of Deus Ex Machina portal to another dimension, because it would be bad. Like, really, really bad. How do we know that? Well, because of a little thing called the giant impact hypothesis. Let me explain. Have you ever looked up at the moon and thought, hey little guy, where did you come from? Well, back in 1898, a scientist named George Darwin, as in, yes, the son of our boy Charlie Darwin, hypothesized that the Earth and the moon were once a single celestial body, and that a proto-molten moon had been creatively spun out of the ejector from the Earth because of centrifugal forces. Well, he was definitely onto something, but it wasn't until 1975 when doctors William K. Hartman and Donald R. Davis proposed that the moon was a result of our Earth colliding with a planet-sized body, the collision of which caused the ejector to gradually coalesce and form the moon. And they may have been bang on the money. Because the fact is that whole event would have taken a pretty massive celestial body, probably something at least the size of Mars. Well, in fact, that hypothetical proto-planet just so happens to have a title, Theia, named after the mythological Greek titan who gave birth to the moon goddess Selene. Funny how those things work, eh? Well, the components are already there, so let's see precisely how they hypothetically played out. We know that our Earth was born around 4.5 billion years ago, which although sounds like a long time, the fact is it isn't comparative to the age of our universe. During that time though, embryonic planets and proto-worlds were a dime a dozen, floating around, hitting into things, ready to find their own way in the universe. One of those was our special little planet, Earth, doing its thing, trying its best to keep a lid on all the bubbling soup of life below. And then along comes Thea, spinning and spinning, and then boom, she hits us like a bat out of hell. And in that hypothesized instance, we can imagine exactly what life would be like on Earth today if another planet came hurtling at us from the deep void of space. Let's call that planet, oh, I don't know, something sinister like Ultron. If Ultron was roughly the same size as our planet, like Thea, and somehow fell out of the void of space toward Earth, by the time it was visible in the sky as in the same size as the sun or moon, we'd have roughly several weeks before it impacted us, based on the same scale as Earth's escape velocity, which is roughly 11 kilometers per second. In those several weeks, could we do anything to prevent our imminent extinction? Nah, pretty much nothing actually, save the hope of somehow slapping together enough rockets to blast us all the way to Mars and continue the species. But hey, that sounds like a challenge worth taking, right? For the most part though, we'd have a few weeks to slowly witness our demise coming ever closer and closer. I mean, I wouldn't really want to paint the picture on what kind of globally depressing environment that would create, but imagine that you're sat at a really awkward dinner table, except everyone on Earth is there and everyone's really sad. I mean, I imagine that some of us would light bonfires on the beaches, dancing around in a bright burst and a lust for life, shouting out into the cosmic void that, hey, we existed, if not for a short time, but hey, we were here, human beings. For the most part though, yeah, it would suck. Once the clock had finally run down though, for a few split seconds before impact, we'd witness the planet Ultron up close and personal, and it would terrifyingly fill our sky from one side of the horizon to the other. That is, if you're lucky enough to be on the side of the Earth that witnessed the point of impact. Because a few nanoseconds before impact, both planets' collective atmospheres would glow brightly as they were suddenly cataclysmically compressed. In those last few moments, you'd be atomically vaporized by the heat and light released from the impact, and you definitely wouldn't be smushed to death by some alien rock face. However, if you were on the other side of the planet, you'd have very little warning about how messed up things are about to get for you. Suddenly you'd have to deal with the ground beneath you turning into an unpredictable trampoline made of rock and molten magma, with the motivation of slinging you off into the atmosphere. If you didn't realize, that's a very bad thing also, due to the fact that you can't breathe in space and you'd have nowhere left to go. All of that smashed up Earth would need to go somewhere though, and due to a little scientific function known as a Roche limit, the resulting ejector as well as its atmosphere would be loosely kept inside the Earth's gravitational field, but would also be kept inside Ultron's new gravity, and for a moment the world's gravity would suddenly be pointing sideways. That means, yeah, you know that new treehouse you just built? See you later. What a waste of time. But all jokes aside, all life on Earth would end, because we have to point back to the giant impact hypothesis, where our moon was created from a devastating collision with the protoplanet Thea. In all likelihood though, if we added Ultron to the equation, we'd more than likely end up with another moon, or maybe even several from the massively ejected ejector. So, hey, that's pretty cool, right? Although, we wouldn't be around to see it. What a bummer. Well, I'm a little bit perturbed, guys, so there we have it, our bittersweet answer to what if Earth smashed into another planet. What about you guys? How do you see it? Why don't you let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. The sky is a beautiful vista, often full of majesty in the bright tapestry of the glory of our universe. We look up and the constant constellations remind us of our place not only in our solar system, but also as a reminder of just how damn lucky we are that planet Earth hit the sweet spot when the infinite will of the cosmos decided on where to park us. We find comfort in its cosmic consistency, the sun, the stars, and our moon. But what if one day you looked up and instead of just one moon, there were 79? And counting, and all of them are uniquely hostile in their own perfect little way, and that means only one thing. Yeah, let me explain. Hello internet, what's going on? And once again, welcome back to the most inquisitive channel on YouTube, Life's Biggest Questions. As per usual, I'll be your disembodied floating voice, Jack Finch, as today we curiously ask the question, what if Earth was a moon of Jupiter? For the curious amongst you, that clip was from sci-fi's incredible science fiction epic, The Expanse, based upon the equally awesome series of novels by Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank, which is possibly one of the best space-themed television shows to grace our screens in the past few decades. It segues us to an important opening point as Well, because if Earth was a moon of Jupiter, we better well hope that we've already discovered something similar to the Epstein drive, the spaceship propulsion system featured in The Expanse that lets humanity travel freely across the solar system in efficiently propelled spaceships, because without it, we're pretty much sitting ducks when it comes to the terrifying intricacies of our new Jupiter lunar neighbours. Before we approach this question though, it's probably best that we lay out some of the frightening cosmic fancies of that strange giant planet known only as Jupiter. If you haven't yet seen our video detailing exactly what would happen if you plummeted through the gaseous landscape of Jupiter, then now would probably be high time to check it out. If for no other reason than Jupiter is interesting as hell, and it's a pretty fun concept to imagine hurtling through its many deadly atmospheres in a spacesuit, right? Yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page. Jupiter is absolutely massive. It's the largest planet in our solar system and has a mass that is 2.5 times greater than all of the other neighbouring planets combined, excluding the Sun, of course, because that would just be ridiculous. In fact, Jupiter is so big that it could contain over 1,300 Earths within its mass. Just let that sink in. It's also a gas giant, meaning that many of its planetary properties are colossally different than that of Earth's, warranting to the fact that because of its absolutely massive size, Jupiter's got a lot of love and a whole lot of gravity to affect the solar system with. Enter the 79 and counting moons of the Jovian system, all of them seeking shelter in Jupiter's all-consuming gravity, finding their home in the many layers of the rings of Jupiter. This is where things get interesting, and this is also where Earth would find its home in this particular hypothetical situation. The inner moons of Jupiter are tiny things, less than 200 kilometers in diameter, and are thought to have formed alongside Jupiter way back when in the cosmic soup. These are Metis, Adrastea, Amalthea, and Thebe. Say hello because they're our new neighbours. Alongside these are what is known as the Galilean moons that comprise some of the largest moons in the solar system, some of which are larger than several planetary bodies. These are Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, first discovered by Galileo Galilei sometime in 1610. Familiarise yourself with these guys, because if Earth was a moon of Jupiter and ended up anywhere other than a similar orbit to these lunar entities, as in Jupiter's outer dust rings, then our planet would be torn apart by cataclysmic tidal forces and scattered to the cosmic winds. And of course, we don't want that. So let's say that our Earth finds itself in the same orbit as Europa, a small moon made up of silicate rock with some incredibly interesting mechanics. In the same orbital distance, our days would last around 85 hours, with up to 15 of those hours caught in the shadow of Jupiter in a weird kind of day-night-day daily pattern. Also, by that principle alone, Earth just got super cold, and also, in all likelihood, our planet would become tidally locked to Jupiter thanks to its massive gravity, in a way similar to how our moon interacts with our planet. Being tidally locked would result in a very strange scenario, where one half of the planet dries out into an arid desert wasteland, and the other half turns into a frigid, frozen ice cap of constant Arctic winds and snow. This isn't too great of a position to be in, but it's not all doom and gloom, because our species could actually survive this, and in areas near the middle of this newly founded geothermal landscape, humanity could find a pretty comfortable home. However, it's not all tippity-top, because Jupiter's a pretty dangerous dude, and this whole time he'd be spewing deadly amounts of radiation in our direction. That's not good. But also, don't worry, because we are in fact the lucky wielders of the shield that guards the realms of mankind, our magnetosphere, and in this hypothetical situation, that same shield that protects us from the sun's radiation would be fit for the task to protect us from Jupiter's as well. Thank you, Earth. We love you. But Jupiter's not done with us just yet, and this particular boss battle just segued into phase 2. Because of its massive gravity, Jupiter has a strange effect on its many moons, and in essence it heats them to a point where its celestial influence almost kneads them like a ball of dough. Because of this strange influence, our Earth would become a hell of a lot more volcanic than it is now, and pretty much every volcano across the planet would be spewing out a constant stream of carbon dioxide into the air. Under any other circumstances, that would be known as a very terrible thing, but given the fact that in this situation our planet is tidally locked to Jupiter and half of it is frozen in darkness and ice, we would actually welcome a bit of global warming. I guess we just have to adapt to all of the clouds of sulfur and torrential downpours of acid rain. Hopefully. In actual fact, whilst it's easy to imagine Earth being a moon of Jupiter resulting in the end of our species, we could actually survive the whole ordeal given a bit of grit and determination, albeit with a much smaller population, down to the fact that we've got to deal with a couple dozen environmental disasters throughout the process. And if we did, we've got a whole host of cosmic phenomena to look forward to. The main one being, well, Jupiter in the sky. constantly, over 40 times the size of the moon. And we wouldn't just see Jupiter, but all of our other new neighbouring moons, Io, Callisto, Ganymede, as well as all of the many smaller moons, perpetually dancing in the atmosphere alongside a beautiful cascade of lightning and a permanent aurora from the Jovian system. And if we did manage to survive the whole process and then also advance to some type of space flight such as the one that we mentioned earlier, then we've got a whole new backyard ripe for the picking and the harvesting of some insanely rare and valuable metals, ores and chemical compounds. In fact, with our proximity to Jupiter and our new tidally locked relationship, we'd have a fixed point perfect for shuttle launches and general space flight, so there'd be even more reason to invest in the exploration of our 79 new moon neighbours as well as the rest of the solar system. So, how about it then, guys? What do you say? Who's up for moving to Jupiter? Nah? Okay.